The real reason I left Twitch for years isn't what most people probably assume. It wasn't burnout, it wasn't losing interest. It was because over time I started to feel that I was constantly being watched by a specific streamer. I was copied and I was unable to just exist in my own space without worrying what was going on behind closed doors. And I want to explain how I got to that point. Before I get into my own story, I do want to briefly acknowledge that Keys has already and bravely spoken publicly about his own experience and his abuse from Ashley, formerly Ashley Amelia on Twitch, and I would recommend watching his video directly. I'm not here to repeat or expand on his story, however, he did mention that some people did actually dismiss his feelings through his abuse, and I'll hold my hands up, I was one of them. I had said that I hadn't seen that behaviour from her, therefore I was going to be friends with both of them, sit on the fence, be in the middle. It was extremely dismissive and harmful. As someone who has been through their own abuse, I don't know why I did that. I don't have any excuse for why I did that, because no victim should ever have to hear those words, nor be worried that their friend is also friends with their abuser. So for all of that, I am deeply, deeply sorry. Going into my experience, I can only speak for myself, but I did feel it was worth sharing mine because the malice that she gave wasn't just to romantic partners, it was also to people she felt threatened by and her friends. So I met Ashley towards the end of 2020, and at the time I genuinely thought I'd made a really good friend. We spoke regularly through Discord, through text, we called each other a lot. I supported her and I genuinely wanted to see her succeed, and in the beginning I didn't really question much. I took people at their word and at face value, and I had no reason to think that she actually hated me to my core. There were lots of little moments that were alarm bells, and the first one that really stuck with me was in April 2021. I was getting close to 1,000 Twitch followers, and people who've watched my streams know that whilst growth is great, I will never admit that I don't love growth, but I'm not a pusher for it. I like going at my own pace, and I streamed more for the enjoyment of playing games and talking to people than actually to grow. But I streamed every single day, so that day I'd planned to stream, obviously being aware that I might hit this milestone, and I was quite excited for it. And she knew this, so on the same day she announced that she was going to go live until she hit 1,000 followers, so doing a push stream. At the time, something about that unsettled me because she knew how excited I was, and it felt like something that should have been maybe quite personal to me suddenly felt like a competition and a race. And I remember immediately questioning myself for feeling that way. I cried, I felt like I was being petty, and I just thought I was overthinking it all and that I was the problem here. Also couldn't quite comprehend why a friend would want to try and one-up me like that when she knew how excited I was. And if there was communication and there was like a, hey, do you want to have like a competition to reach 1,000 followers, I would have been all for it. I love that stuff. But the fact that there was no communication, she knew how excited I was and then decided to do this, it just felt unsettling to me. And this is actually how she described it to people she was speaking to. We met in person twice. The first one was in a group setting at a streamer meetup that we all arranged, and the second one was literally just me and her. And I actually asked her during this if she felt like there was a competition between us. She told me no, and I believed her because she was my friend and I wanted to believe her. But eventually she did kind of let slip that she did compare us a little bit, and this is actually what I said to that, because to this day I still stand by it. You can't compare two completely different streamers, and this is how I felt at the time and do to this day. Later that year, something happened that changed both of us. My dad sadly passed away, and actually a couple of weeks later, so did hers. And they were very different situations. They weren't comparable, but they both came at quite an intense time emotionally for us. So while I was dealing with my own grief, I also was then trying to support my friend with her grief. At the same time, I also was going through quite a public breakup. It was messy, people chose sides. I didn't handle it well, and I know that definitely affected how people saw me. And despite that, we remained in contact, we remained very close friends, and I found out that she actually messaged him asking if they could meet up, but asking him not to tell me. And that was kind of the point that I was like, okay, this is starting to feel malicious and uncomfortable. It felt like the friendship was one-sided and that she was actually trying to take everything from me. When she went through her breakup with Keys, she had said that he was what he was saying she was. There was allegations on both sides, and as I said at the start of this video, I didn't handle any of this well. I wasn't the friend I should have been for Keys, and it seems so obvious now that he was the one telling the truth and she was manipulating me. But I do take full accountability for the fact that I didn't do well by Keys at all. it did take actual physical proof for me to realize that this person I thought was my friend was speaking so horribly behind my back and then manipulating me to my face. And I felt really betrayed and hurt. I cried a lot. And I'm not an angry person. Like, it's not an emotion I really deal with. I then became competitive back. I was constantly comparing our stats, our views, and I just became an all-round toxic person. I took my anger out where I shouldn't have and on people I shouldn't have. And it took a lot of support from my friends and therapy to break this cycle and block her and stop comparing. And I thought that might be the end of it, but it wasn't. Even after we stopped speaking, I still felt like something was going on. There was a time that a lot of Twitch creators were actually moving over to Kick, and it was something that I considered, so I went over to create my account in case I wanted to start streaming there, and I found that my username had already been taken. And at first I thought it might be a coincidence, but obviously I had a theory, and later I was told by someone that was close with her at the time that my suspicion wasn't unfounded. She had taken the time and effort to actually make an account with my username, so I then couldn't take it. I appreciate that none of these by themselves seem necessarily huge. It might just seem like petty girl drama, and that's why I did stay quiet, because every individual moment could be explained away, and every time something happened I found a reason not to trust my own judgment. I told myself I was overthinking, that I was being insecure, and I was imagining it. But all of them together and what continued on from there is where I felt it had gone from competitive behaviour to purely malicious and borderline obsessive. And over time, it affected me more than I even realised. I still don't entirely trust my own judgment. I'd made so many silly mistakes with people I considered my friends. My trust in people just diminished, and I'm still trying to build all of this back up. Streaming used to be something that I genuinely loved, and it gave me confidence. It gave me a really loving community, and it gave me a purpose. I felt so lucky that it wasn't something that ever made me nervous. It just felt really natural to me, and I would have kept doing it if I had 0 viewers or 100. None of that mattered to me. But instead of feeling excited, I'd started to feel watched, and not in a good way. Every idea I had, I questioned whether it'd be copied. Every milestone I reached, I wondered if it would turn into a competition. And every decision I made, I second guessed. And that's not how content creation should feel. One thing I always prided myself in is being honest. And when someone would be in my stream and say something like, oh, you seem like a really lovely person, blah, 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 I'd always, as lovely as that is to hear, I'd stamp down on that, reminding people that I only show people what I want them to see, and you don't know what streamers are like behind closed doors, myself included. So someone could seem absolutely lovely on stream and treat you really nice, but you have no idea how they treat people off stream. So eventually I stopped streaming. There were other reasons in my life as well, but this was probably the most major factor. I didn't want to feel like I had to constantly protect myself, and I changed my username because I wanted a fresh start, and I was scared of being found everywhere. And I've only recently, years later, had the confidence to change it back. And even when I moved house, I felt anxious that I might be found, because she had my original address that I never consented for her to have, but it was passed on by someone, and I was scared she would find out who I was around and where I was living, and it was genuinely scary. I've also since found out that her competitiveness continued for years and may even still be going. When I did a return stream after being away for quite a while, she had messaged someone about, this is what Asia's average viewers was, or this. She surpassed me years ago. She's partner now. She has so many more followers, so many more viewers, and the fact that she still needs to keep an eye on me is quite unnerving. She knew when I was going on holiday and when I'd not be streaming, so she had time to push more, and she knew my every move, which some of it I question how she ever found out. So I didn't stop streaming because I didn't enjoy it. I stopped because I no longer felt safe. I didn't believe I was a good enough person to be worthy of such an amazing community after the toxic behaviour I did. And I'm not making this video because I want revenge. I'm making it because for years I questioned my own reality on it, and I wondered whether I was just too sensitive or if I had misunderstood everything. And this is just my experience. This is why I left and why I changed my name on everything. And after today, I hope I can finally close that chapter and move on. But I just want to spread awareness that streamers may seem lovely and inviting on stream, and many are, I'm sure. But just because someone may seem that way, it doesn't mean that's who they are offline. And just always be wary of who you're watching and what they're like.